Hey everyone, how's it going? Today I thought I'd talk about the heavyweight division. Once again, uh, the most popular, I would say is the most popular division in boxing at the moment, or maybe not at the moment necessarily, but just in general. I would say it's one of the most popular or more popular weight classes there is out there, right? That being said, let's talk about weight. Specifically heavyweights, not making the weight, obviously that's not the issue. I can't imagine a heavyweight out there, who would struggle to make weight. I think these guys are heavyweights anyway, walking around, right? In order to struggle to make a heavyweight, you'd have to be like a cruiserweight going up to heavyweight like Usyk, right? But the problem with that is that Usyk probably already weighs like a heavyweight's weight. Uh, just walking around, right? His walk around weight is probably like 200 plus pounds, or whatever the heavyweight or whatever the gap is between cruiserweight and heavyweight, right? But this is more gonna be so about heavyweights, you know, having a bit of a weight issue recently. Heavyweights recently, some of them, within the past like few years ago, have been they've been adding on some unnecessary package, some unnecessary weight, um, thinking that's going to give them an advantage. And, why I don't think that's the case in a lot of, instances, right? So I guess what inspired me to do this video was sort of Charlo versus Canelo that happened recently. Speaking of that fight, my analysis of that fight is, look, I didn't think it was that entertaining. I don't think it was the most, you know, boring fight out there. It wasn't the biggest snooze fest. I've seen a lot worse. Like, I think the AJ, and look, I'm an AJ fan, but I can't deny the AJ versus Franklin fight was a lot more boring. Right? I was not entertained, when I watched the Franklin and AJ fight. I thought that was just, there was almost nothing, once the fight actually started to have some like excitement in that 12 round, there was still a lot of clinching in that round, it was, other than that though, the fight was just like, it was kind of just it was like, even the AJ versus Ruiz fight, that was a more entertaining fight than Franklin versus AJ, but anyway, but with the Charlo and Canelo fight, look, at least there was a knockdown, right? In the AJ and Franklin fight, there was no knockdown, so that gave it some excitement. I understand Charlo was doing a lot of clinching, which I didn't really like, and Canelo was kind of just like walking forward and whatever, right? But look, it wasn't the most boring fight, you know what I mean? I don't think I really gave Charlo a round. Maybe you could make a case for like, I've heard that you could make a case for the fifth round. I didn't watch the fifth round too much live, but I thought, either way, like, I don't know. I think Canelo clearly dominated though. I can't remember which round AJ or Canelo knocked Charlo out, or knocked Charlo down in, excuse me. But either ways, I don't know. Not the most boring, but it wasn't the most entertaining. But the reason I'm sort of talking about that in this video is because Charlo did go up in weight. Now, I know that this isn't necessarily a video about cruiserweights going up to heavyweight, like a fighter going up in a weight class. But, this is more so about, I guess, that fight didn't really inspire me to do this video. I think it's more the Joe Joyce versus Zhilei Zhang fight that happened. So for those who don't know, Joe Joyce and Zhilei Zhang, I hope I'm saying that name right. But anyway, they had a fight. I think it was earlier this year. They had their first fight. I'm not too sure. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really follow like. I don't really follow like some of boxing too much anyway, or just when these fights happen, necessarily. In the heavyweight division, I don't know. The heavyweight division in general has just kind of. I just feel like it's lost its, like, or for at the time being anyway. It's kind of lost its like. Sting, if you will, or it's not like super entertaining anymore. You got Fury versus Ngannou, you got the whole Dubois and Usyk controversy. The AJ and Franklin fight didn't really do anything for the division. Helenius versus AJ was a bit better, but even that was still like, just, you know what I mean? And then what's Wilder and Ruiz doing? It's like the heavyweight division, it's not like the best right now. So I haven't been following it too much. But, Excuse me. Sorry. Yeah. Excuse me. But they have been but there was a fight that happened earlier this year between Zhilei Zhang and Joe Joyce, I think. And basically, what happened? Big upset for Zhilei Zhang, Big Bang Zhang. He went out there and he stopped Joe Joyce in, what was it, 6 rounds or something like that. I don't know. It was, I don't follow Joe Joyce. I don't follow his career too much, but it was something like that, right? And they had a rematch recently, in September, I think. And the result for that fight was basically the same thing happened, but it was a lot quicker this time, and there was an actual knockdown, like not like the last fight where it was just like, oh, it was like a doctor stoppage. Like, this was like Joe Joyce got knocked out, not cold because he did stand up, but I mean, still, that was a big knockdown, and had the fight kept on going, it would have, like, not been good for Joe Joyce's health and his career. So, either way, obviously, I think it's fair to say that was a good stoppage by the ref. But prior to the fight, Joe Joyce decided to actually pack on some weight. He looked a lot bigger, right? And he thought that was gonna do him some favors, right? Now, that was very confusing to me because we've seen this in the past with other fighters, right? Specifically, in this case, Joe Joyce, Andy Ruiz Jr., Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, and there are probably some more out there. I don't know. There's probably some more. I think Dylan White even. I think he might have come in a bit heavier when he fought. Who was it? A couple fighters. I can't remember. It was, I think, Oscar. What's that guy he fought? Oscar Rivas, was that his name? But basically the point is that there's a lot of fighters who do put on a lot of weight, and I guess the question is, why do they do that? Well, sometimes, in some instances, Oscar Rivas, that was his name. Anyway, so in some cases, if you pack on weight, and specifically muscle weight as well, not necessarily just like eating a bigger pasta or whatever, right? That can sometimes translate to hitting a bit harder, right? I think a good example would probably be Daniel Cormier in the UFC. I think he did punch a bit harder at heavyweight as opposed to light heavyweight, right? But it's not like that. It wasn't that noticeable. So I think some fighters do it because it's like, oh yeah, look at me, I'm so big, and I mean, look what Tyson Fury did. He went up in weight when he fought Deontay Wilder in the third fight. He was almost 300 pounds, and I'm going to get into that whole Tyson Fury thing, as well as the Usyk part as well. But, depending on, like, I don't know, your athletic genetics or whatever, or how you are athletically, that doesn't necessarily mean you are going to punch harder, right? I think that's a big misconception. When I was, I remember, I think it was 2020, when I was sparring at the gym, I actually made that choice to actually put on some muscle. So I weighed around, I'm not going to say my weight because that's kind of, I don't know if it's too personal, but let's just say I weigh around, like, let's just say if I was fighting professionally, I would be a lightweight, right? Or something like that, right? Now, with that being said, I decided, instead of like cutting weight or losing weight, because I felt a bit like, oh, all these guys around me are bigger and whatever, I decided to pack on more muscle and more, just weight in general, right? So what I would do is I would like just, drink as many like protein shakes I could, right? I started to eat like larger meals, like foods with heavy carbs, and just, really just try to like bulk up, and, I was like really, I was doing a lot of weightlifting, all that stuff, right? This was a long time ago, so I can't remember exactly what I was doing, like, like, I don't know what my meal plan was and everything like that, but the point is that once I translated that to boxing and sparring, the reason I did that was because it was the same reason a lot of heavyweights go up in weight or they pack on weight, is to, have that power advantage and that size advantage, and, it's sometimes even strength advantage. But I noticed that I looked a lot worse, I think, and felt a lot worse as opposed to me just staying at my normal weight or even just losing some weight, right? Um, and that's why I decided to not, try and go up in weight anymore, because I just thought that was like not a good idea. And, I felt my endurance kind of go. I felt like, I was definitely hydrated, but I definitely did not feel like strong physically, if that makes sense. Like, or stronger than, the guys, excuse me. I didn't feel stronger than the guys I was sparring. And whenever I would spar a guy who was like around my weight or height or whatever, it would not go well for me because I felt a lot slower than them. So it didn't really do me any favors in the long run, is basically what I'm trying to say. Now, I'm not trying to say that look at me, I'm a professional, and I'm an expert on this, because I've done it before, right? But I'm just saying, like, that's how I felt when I did that, right? So I just imagine that can be the same case for, in this instance, when heavyweights like professionally box, right? And I think there've been a couple of examples that have sort of shown that, yeah, like these heavyweights, when they go up in weight, I mean, they do look a lot slower, and it looks like they may be more hydrated and all that stuff, but it's not like they're really not throwing that much. They're a lot slower. Their cardio isn't as good, and things like that, right? So let's talk about Andy Ruiz Jr., because I think he's a good example. When he fought Anthony Joshua in the second fight, he almost weighed, I think, what was it, 300 pounds? Like, I think he was like 284 pounds or something like that. And he looked really slow in that AJ fight. Now, here's what I'll say. In the first AJ versus Andy Ruiz fight, I think AJ was actually able to get a knockdown in that fight because Ruiz was at a much lighter weight. And I think him being at a lighter weight, I think he's more susceptible to being, I guess, like, rocked a bit more easily against other fighters. I mean, that showed in also the Chris Arreola fight, where he's a bit lighter as well, I think, right? So I think that's why part of it had to do with, like, AJ in the rematch, just trying to, like, outbox him on the back foot and not really, going in with, like, hard combinations and all that stuff, right? But I think his chin, he has, a better chin, I guess, and he's more, like I said, just hydrated. So that's probably why he was able to take shots better against AJ in that second fight. But, I mean, it showed that Ruiz was not as aggressive as he was in the first fight. He just plodded forward and he was just waiting to counter, right? And it just didn't work out for him, And he just got outboxed in almost every round in that fight. I only gave Ruiz, I think, one round? And that was, like, one of the later rounds as well. I can't remember exactly which round, but, I mean, it just shows you that it's like, it really doesn't, it doesn't make Ruiz punch that much harder. If anything, it probably took his power away, right? Because it took his speed away. Ruiz is known for being a fast puncher. So, that wasn't going to do him any favors, right? Because, he had to, like, translate, that speed into, punching power, right? So, I mean, that's one example. Another example I said was Deontay Wilder when he fought Tyson Fury. Now, I do not understand why he would go up in weight to fight Tyson Fury at a heavier weight, Let me just, like, look up exactly what his height was. In the first fight, he weighed, like, he was pretty light in that first Tyson Fury fight, which I thought he was at a good weight in that fight. You know what I mean? I thought that was a good weight all around for him. But for some reason in the rematch, he decided to, like, I don't understand why he decided to do this, but he decided to, like, pack on some weight because he thought, oh yeah, I'm going to hit harder. It's like, that's not necessarily the case. And Deontay Wilder's a very lean guy, although he's very athletically built and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know, it's not, okay, here we go, sorry. He weighed, 212.5 pounds, right? And that was a low weight, and look, in my opinion, that was not a bad fight from Deontay Wilder. I don't think, that wasn't a dominant performance by Wilder, right? And, excuse me, and Tyson Fury certainly did, he proved a lot of people wrong, I guess, because a lot of people thought he was going to lose, right? But in the second fight, like, I guess he decides, oh yeah, my power is going to be a lot better at like whatever that weight he was at. And sorry, what am I saying? Yeah, 231. So he packs on like what, up 10 plus pounds, right? Or 30 plus pounds, whatever, or not 30, 20 plus pounds, whatever it is. Why would he do that if he's athletically built, you know, as a lean guy, right? Like, it doesn't make sense to me that he would just go up in weight. And Wilder's not known for being the fastest puncher, not the fastest combination puncher anyway. I mean, yeah, when he like loads up that right hand, he's got speed behind it. But aside from that, he's like, it just doesn't make sense to me, right? And, you know, the first fight was a lot better than the second fight because he at least got a draw in that fight, and he was able to get some knockdowns in that fight. But in the second fight, he just got, he pretty much, well, he almost lost every round up till the stoppage, right? And then there's the Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder fight, the third one, where, like, I actually was thinking, oh, maybe Wilder's going to learn from his mistakes. Instead, this guy comes in heavier than the second fight, 238 pounds. He packs on 7 pounds. Like, what? And, you know, he did get 2 knockdowns in that fight, but, you know, I really, really do think that Wilder going down a weight class, or not a weight class, what am I saying? Fighting at a lighter weight, I really do think that's going to do him a lot more favors as opposed to him just like bulking up. You know what I mean? Because, you know, that's not how, you know, he's going to be a lot slower and all that stuff. So it just doesn't make much sense to me that he would do that, you know? Right? I mean, and did his power really, like, you know, maybe it like went up a bit, his punching power, I guess, but it wasn't like, that's like so minuscule. That's so, or not minuscule, but so small, like, you know, like of his punching power percentage, whatever you want to call it. Like, it went up like just a bit, you know, but other than that, it's like, it's not, you know, it wasn't, was there really that much of a difference? Not really. Anyway, I mentioned Anthony Joshua in this fight, so, most recently, actually, well, let's talk about the Ruiz fight, because and not the second one, the first one, he went up in weight. I think he fought at a pretty heavy weight in the Andy Ruiz Jr. fight, and it wasn't necessarily like just, I don't know, like being big or whatever, or excuse me, just like, what am I saying, like just eating too much or whatever, you know what I mean? But it's you know, it was more so like to do with, you know, him packing on a lot of muscle. I mean, there's a photo of him where he just looks jacked, like, you know, he just looks really jacked, right? And people were saying, oh yeah, he's gonna definitely destroy Ruiz, right? And yeah, with 247 pounds, 247.8 pounds, which, look, not AJ's heaviest, but like I said, it looked like he was just packing on so much muscle, and I was just thinking, like, why? You know, like, that's not necessarily gonna, you know, I think he's gonna probably, like, be a lot slower. And guys, I said this, I mean, I didn't have a YouTube channel before, but I mean, I said this, like, to people I knew who, like, you know, before we watched the Ruiz versus AJ fight, is I said that, like, I'm not gonna be surprised if Ruiz, like, does at least well against AJ, right? Because, you know, he's, you know, I mean, for one, he had a close fight with Joseph Parker, right? But two, I mean, why is AJ putting on all this muscle, right? And this is a very, like, short notice fight for him as well, right? So I was just thinking, like, you know, it's, I don't know, it was going to be tricky for him. And what do you know? He looked like he was tired throughout the fight, and I know that some of that can be contributed to the fact that he was stunned in the fight, but still, it was like, he did not need to put on that extra muscle and try to go guns blazing for the knockout, right? Now, the good thing for Joshua is that temporarily he did learn in the rematch, where I think he weighed 237 pounds, so a bit, excuse me, what is that, 10 pounds lighter? And guys, I've been saying this, that I think that is a good weight for AJ. I think he should fight around that weight in the majority of his fights, because he looked a lot quicker, right? He boxed pretty well. I know it was he boxed well against an Andy Ruiz that wasn't a super good boxer, but he looked a lot more fresh as opposed to when he fought Ruiz in the first fight, and even just in some of his other fights against Takam and all that stuff, right? So I've been saying, like, AJ does fight, just like Wilder, he fights better at a lower weight. Now, the problem is that AJ, he took that and didn't do anything with it, you know, because we look at AJ versus Franklin, and what did AJ weigh in at, right? He weighed in at, like, I think it was the heaviest weight he's been at, 255.4 pounds. Like, what, wasn't that heavier than the Carlos Takam fight? And it showed that he looked a lot slower, right? And that, all he really did that fight was just throw jabs, go on the back foot, and, he did not look quick in that fight, It's like, weight can only give you so much power, right? But it's not going to give you that much power, right? Okay, what I'm saying is, like, it's not going to, it can give you a bit of power, right? But it's not going to, like, excel it that much. Like, you're not suddenly going to hit as hard as Mike Tyson if you just, like, bulk up a bit, And, yeah, that was just really weird to see. Now, I think he was lighter for the Helenius fight. I'm not too sure. So that could have been, that could have played a factor of why he looked better against Helenius. But, either way, yeah, he weighed 250 pounds. So, that's just a 5-pound difference. But either way, I mean, at least that's a bit better, right? So that's another example of a fighter who just decided, let me just bulk up and weight. And then it just screwed them over, right? And another example is, just to get on to the other example, because, and this was the most recent one and obviously the most popular one recently, Joe Joyce, right? Joe Joyce is a big guy, but he did not need to make himself a bigger guy against Sei Zhang in the rematch. Do I even need to talk about that fight? I mean, in the first fight, he landed some shots, and in the second fight, I mean, I didn't watch the full fight, so I don't know, but I mean, it looked like, the fact that it ended so early, I don't know, I think, it's, he just, I don't know, it's like, just watching the highlights, it just looked like he didn't really, I'm not going to say he didn't care, but he just looked like he was a lot more sluggish than the first fight, so, I don't know, I mean, I've already talked about other instances. Now, here's the thing. Everyone's body type is different, and people look at Tyson Fury and say, why does it work for Tyson Fury? Because Tyson Fury is actually the opposite. Look at the Wallin fight. He weighed at a pretty light weight in that fight, and, that was a fight where that Tyson Fury, he almost lost, right, because of that cut, right? And I think because of that cut, he didn't look too hydrated, or excuse me, what am I saying? Because he didn't look too hydrated, sorry, is, why I guess he didn't, is why he probably got that cut, because he wasn't, like, super strong and all that stuff, right? Yeah, 254.4 pounds is what he weighed against, Otto Wallin, right? And, that's a pretty light weight for Tyson Fury, I mean, and it looked it, right? So, with Tyson Fury, because he's so massive, because he's so big, right, and that's just how he's built. When he fought Deontay Wilder, I think he weighed like 273 pounds in the second fight, which is a lot heavier than when he fought Otto Wallin. So that works for him because, that hydrates him, right, due to his genetics, right? And then same thing with the third fight when he weighed in at 277 pounds, right? He looked a lot, I don't know, quicker than what he fought Otto Wallin, but he looked a lot fresher, right? That's why it works for someone like Tyson Fury. And same thing with Usyk, him going up in, actually I don't know if I should say Usyk, but I'll say that him going up in weight, it doesn't affect him that much, or as much as other heavyweights, right? So, anyway, the point I'm making in this video is that I think fighters in the heavyweight division should really, and look, I'm not a huge, expert on heavyweights and all that stuff, but I think, the consensus, even with just, not just analysts, but fans, is that I think fighters should just, go down in weight, or just lose a bit of weight for, a fight, as opposed to going up, I mean, it depends on their genetics, I understand, but with the guys I mentioned, Reese, Joe Joyce, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, and there's probably many more, many more, I think they just benefit a lot more from, fighting at a lower weight, they're not too small, and not too, they don't weigh so light to the point where they're just so dehydrated and, they're just weak, but they're not too big to the point where they're, just slow, sluggish, and, whatever, right? It's like, it's just a, they just need a good balance at a lighter weight, right? So anyway, I thought I'd just make a video on that. Let me know what you guys think, and yeah, let me know. I don't know. Oh, and I guess another example of someone who benefits at a heavier weight is Zhilei Zhang, because when he fought early in his career, he fought at a lighter weight, and that did not benefit him. Especially when he fought, I think, what was it, Jerry Forrest? I think he weighed lighter in that fight. I'm not too sure, but then in the Joe Joyce fight, I think he weighed in heavier. So it like I said, it depends on the fighters overall. So anyway, that being said, just wanted to make a video on this, and yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think? Do you guys think? Sorry if I'm like, I don't know, messing up my words today or something. I just I don't know. I took a bit of a nap. I had a bit of a long morning. It's the afternoon right now, but I just like woke up. So I'm sorry if I'm just, I don't know, not, if I'm like messing up my words or mixing up my words a bit. I just got up. But either way, I thought I just wanted to make this video since I have the time now. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys think of fighters in the heavyweight division gaining weight. Do you think they should lose some weight instead, or do you think they should just like not even worry about that and just stay at their walk around weight? Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.